Good morning. My name is Sergeant Murphy, and today we're going to be going over measuring distance on a map. So, what that entails is our first task is going to be measuring that distance on a map. So, before we begin that task, what we're going to do is go ahead and identify hazards and controls real quick. So, overall condition today is going to be low for this training event. Our three hazards are obviously the heat, possible sun damage to your skin, and then any stinging insects or flying insects. So our three controls to mitigate that is going to be obviously having our CamelBak with us. Then if you need to, obviously hydrate. Another control is going to be to apply sunscreen, which we've already done. And then for the insects, we've already applied our insect repellent. All right, moving into how we're going to be doing this today. So what's going to happen is I'm going to brief you the task, conditions, and standards of measuring distance on a map. You can find this in your Warrior Skills book or your STP 21-1. All right, so from there, now that we know what we're going to be going over, how are we going to be evaluated on it? We're going to be evaluated using that Department of the Army form 5164 Romeo for your evaluation. So let's go ahead and get started here. So, task, measure distance on map. Conditions, you are a member of a squad or team in a field environment and have been directed to determine the distance between two known points. You have a 1 in 50,000 scale map, as you can see here. We already got that. A strip of paper with a straight edge and a pencil. You have been shown the beginning and ending points on the map. As I will now show you, you have point 1 and point 2 for your straight edge, and then point 1 and point 2 for your curved edge. Some of these iterations will be conducted in MOP Level 4. Unfortunately, we won't be conducting MOP Level 4 training today due to the heat. Standards. Determine the straight line distance between 2 points with no more of 5% of an error. And then for the road curved portion, determine the distance between 2 points with no more than 10% of an error. Now that we've covered our task, conditions, and standards, I'll go ahead and demonstrate how to measure distance on a map. During this demonstration, I won't be using any verbal communication or anything like that. Just pay attention. Now that we've seen a demonstration of how to determine distance on the map, let's break that down real quick. So what I did, just go ahead and put that down. So what I did was I took my two known points at point 1 and point 2. I took my pencil, went ahead and plotted point 1, point 2, taking my straight edge, I lined it up, determined that that's going to be a straight line as there's no roads or any curvature of trails going between point 1 and point 2. Got my straight edge. And then what I did was came down here to the bottom portion of the map on the 1 in 50,000 scale for the line distance. Lined up my straight edge against it and went ahead and put tick marks on the straight edge of the paper as such on the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 portion of the kilometers, which that kilometer just being every 1,000 meters. From there, I utilized the slip of paper with the straight edge, came from point 1 to point 2, annotated a distance at 1 kilometer and then at 2 kilometers, and determined the distance at that point from point 1 to point 2 as being 2 kilometers or 2,000 meters. Then what I did was went ahead, took my straight edge, plotted slashed a quick line across between the 2 points, and wrote in on the map 2 kilometers. From there, what I did was I went into determining the distance between a curved point of a road. So basically doing that tactical road march or that tactical movement along a roadway, we might have a curvature in the road. From there, we need to determine now what's the actual distance from point 1 to point 2, utilizing the curvature method. All the curvature method is we're taking that same idea, we're plotting point 1, point 2, so our start point and end point. From there, we went back down to our scale of 1 in 50,000ths, placed our straight edge paper against the map, and put our respective tick marks at every kilometer mark, starting from 0 to 5,000 kilometers. After that, what I had to do was I realized that there's going to be a distance issue between my scale and what I have on my slip of paper. So what I did was I went back down and came over to the left-hand side from the 0, annotated at 1,000, and then annotated at the 500 meter mark. And if you look down here, there's an annotation for every 100 meters. So, after coming back up, we start at the straight portion to the first curve, make a tick mark, and write that distance down. Writing that distance down real quick on either your slip of paper, either on the front or the back, whichever one is your preference, or writing it down into a free space, such as a non-working space. So let's say we're only working in this block of the map, or this section of the map, and all of this side we're not going to be working on. So you can even write it on that section, as that's going to be your free space. That's that quick little thing that's going to help you along your way as soldiers. So from there, at point 1, starting at the straight edge to the first curvature, determined it to be 500 meters. After I put that tick mark, started again at the 0, went to the next curvature, and determined it to be 700 meters. I put a tick mark, wrote it down. Went from the second tick to the next curvature and determined it to be 200 meters. Carried out the same practice of putting that tick mark, and then from that tick mark went to the next portion of the curvature, which just happened to be my end portion, or point 2. Went ahead and put that tick mark and determined it to be 300 meters. So from there, I quickly added up the 500, 200, and 300 and determined it was 1,000 meters, and then added that 700 meter portion and determined from point 1 to point 2, taking that tactical road march to include the curvature of the road, determined it to be 1,700 meters, or 1.7 kilometers. At this time, are there any questions of determining the distance on the map? Okay, so a quick question that was brought up is, do you start from your point 2 or do you start from your point 1? So you're always going to start from point 1, your starting point, to point 2, your end point. Since we only have 2 points, this is going to be from our start point to our end point. You can also look into your Warrior Skills Level 1 Handbook, or that STP 21-1, and go ahead and check to make sure. So go ahead and do that now. Alright, so we have confirmed that that's the method of doing this. So at this time, go ahead and take a quick practice utilizing your straight edge, your 1 in 50,000 scale map, and your pencil. I'll give you about 5 minutes to go ahead and practice. Alright, your 5 minutes have concluded, and I've checked over. Everyone's looking good. There is no further questions. So, at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and become evaluated on that task of measuring distance on a map. Again, I will be utilizing DA form 5164 Romeo to evaluate you. This time, go ahead and take 5 minutes, hydrate, and we will reconvene to be evaluated. Alright, your 5 minutes are up. We're going to go ahead and move into our evaluation portion, utilizing our 1 in 50,000 scale map, our straight edge slip of paper, and our pencil. We already have our 2 known points for our straight line, and then our 2 known points for our curve line. And I've already checked during our practice portion that you have the correct grids written down and copied. At this time, we will go ahead and begin evaluation. Time starts now. You have 5 mics. Time is now up. I've already checked over everyone's work. Out of 5 members of the team being evaluated, we had 1 no-go. That individual with the no-go, what we're going to do is we're going to reconvene tomorrow, do a quick retrain of what you missed and what skills you missed, and then we're going to go ahead and become reevaluated in accordance with DA form 5164 Romeo and the prescribed standard. For everyone else that received a go and those that received a no-go, we still got some effective training today, and good job on that portion. At this time, are there any questions of what we've gone over today? Quick question. Okay, so is there another method besides using a slip of paper? Say we don't have a slip of paper. So there is, but according to the standards and the conditions of this task, we've already gone over the slip, but we will quickly go over another standard or another way to utilize that in the event that you don't have a slip of paper. So utilizing our compass, what we will do is fold it out as such, making that straight edge. Along that straight edge, it's already labeled out into meters. So what we're going to do is take it within our 1 in 50,000 scale, which is already labeled, place it down here at the base of the map, and ensure that the distance is lining up correctly in accordance with the map. And if so, what we can do is go ahead and take that compass, starting at point 1, point 2, and we determine 2,000 meters, as we've done with the slip of paper. So that's just a quick thing that you can put into your battle book, or you can put into the back pocket for your further career advancement. At this time, are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right, so what we're going to do now is move into a quick after action portion. So during our after action, what we're going to discuss real quick is what are 3 improves and 3 sustains. Correction, what are 3 sustains and 3 improves? So 3 sustains, we got our environment. We like the environment we're in. We can see everything clearly. Another sustain was the course itself. We thought it went over pretty well. We didn't go too far in depth. And then another one was that we already had our Warriors Tasks and Skills, or our Warrior Skills level 1 books with us to ensure that we're following that standard and not missing anything. So 3 improves. 1, time of day. And you make sure that sun's not so high up in the sky, we're not getting a lot of sunburn, not sitting here going through our camelbacks, drinking a ton of water. Maybe just find that little bit of cooler. All right. Another sustain, our second sustain, was maybe putting the map on a table and having everyone gather around. There was a couple people that couldn't see. Understandable. And then our third sustain was maybe show a couple more ways that might not be to the standard, but just so that you can have a little career advancement and a little bit more knowledge to use down the road in the events you don't have a slip of paper, or in the event your slip of paper becomes wet, destroyed, whatever. So, that being said, what did we go over today? So we've gone over our measure distance on a map for our task. We went through our conditions, our standards. We took our 1 in 50,000 scale map. We conducted some good training. We went through it. We practiced for about 5 minutes. Continued our hydration. Continued to reapply sunscreen if we needed it. And then from there, we went into our evaluation portion. Through our evaluation portion, we became evaluated. We had 1 no-go out of our team. We've already gone over that they will be reevaluated tomorrow. They will get retrained and then reevaluated in accordance with the standards provided from STP 21. Then we conducted our after action. We got our 3 sustains and our 3 improves. At this time, are there any further questions? If you have no questions for me, I have no questions for you, and I will leave you with this. Determining a distance on a map can save you a lot of headache in trying to determine how far of a movement you have and how much equipment you need to transport across that distance. With that, that's all I have for you. Have a great day.